Have you ever wondered how some people stay calm? No matter what happens, life throws chaos at them. Problems rise out of nowhere. People push their buttons, yet they don't explode. They don't panic. They don't break. They just breathe, respond, and move on as if their mind is made of still water. And if you've ever looked at these calm people and thought, how do they do that? What do they know that I don't? Then what you're about to hear will change the way you understand them, and maybe even yourself. Because calm people aren't calm by accident. They're not magically blessed, and they're definitely not emotionless. Their calmness is psychological. It's learned, it's built, and it's intentional. There is a specific set of traits, patterns, and inner mechanisms that make someone unshakable, even in situations where most people lose themselves completely. And once you understand these mechanisms, you begin to realize something surprising. Calm people aren't unaffected by life. They're just masters at not letting life control their inner world. Today, we're going to break down exactly why these people seem so grounded, what's actually happening inside their mind, and how their psychology works in ways most people never notice. This is not about pretending to be calm. This is not about suppressing emotions. This is about understanding the mental architecture behind emotional stability, the mindset that turns ordinary people into psychological fortresses. So sit back and let's begin. They don't react. They pause. Most people live in reaction mode. A comment triggers them. A mistake frustrates them. A sudden problem throws their entire mood into chaos. Their emotions fire instantly, and their actions follow without question. It feels automatic, like they have no choice. But calm people operate on a different psychological level. Their reflex isn't reaction, it's pause. A calm person experiences the same emotional spike as anyone else. Irritation, fear, surprise, frustration, but there's a microsecond of awareness where they stop themselves from being controlled by it. That pause is small but powerful. It's the moment where emotion ends and intelligence begins. In that space, their brain asks silent questions. What's really happening here? Is this worth my energy? Will reacting emotionally help anything? And most of the time, the answer is no. While other people get swept into the first wave of emotion, calm people let the wave rise and fall before choosing their response. This is why they don't snap at people. This is why they don't panic in emergencies. This is why they rarely say things they regret. They treat every situation like something that deserves just a moment of clarity before action. It's not that they suppress emotions. They simply refuse to let emotions make decisions for them. This ability to pause is a psychological superpower. It gives them control in situations where others lose it. It turns emotional chaos into something navigable. It makes them appear unshakable, not because life is easier for them, but because they refuse to hand their power to the first feeling that arrives. They interpret problems differently. When a problem appears, most people immediately jump to emotional conclusions. They assume the worst. They imagine everything falling apart. Their mind exaggerates the threat, creating a version of reality far more dramatic than the situation itself. But calm people don't let their brain do that. Their first instinct is not fear, it's analysis. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What exactly is happening here?" This shift in interpretation completely changes their emotional state. Calm people see problems as information, not personal attacks. They don't fuse the problem with their identity. They don't make it emotional unless it truly needs to be. For them, a problem is a puzzle to understand a situation, to break into steps, a signal that something needs attention, not a crisis that needs panic. While others react to the story their mind creates, calm people react to the facts. They slow down the moment by dissecting it. Is this actually dangerous or just inconvenient? Is this a real threat or just unexpected? Is this big or is my emotion making it feel big? By doing this, they remove the emotional distortion. Where most people experience fear first and clarity second, calm people experience clarity first, and that reduces fear. This mindset lets them stay level-headed in moments that overwhelm others. Because they understand something simple but powerful. A problem interpreted correctly becomes manageable. A problem interpreted emotionally becomes overwhelming. Calm people master the interpretation before they deal with the solution, and that is why they rarely fall apart under pressure. They don't absorb everything. Most people walk through life like emotional sponges. They soak up other people's moods, frustrations, tension, anxiety, and they don't even notice it happening. Someone is irritated and suddenly they feel irritated. Someone is stressed and their body unconsciously tightens. A room feels heavy and their mind becomes heavy too. Calm people are different. They don't automatically absorb the emotional atmosphere around them. They observe it, but they don't merge with it. It's like they have an invisible psychological filter that decides what belongs to me and what doesn't. They understand that not every emotion they feel is theirs. Not every reaction requires their involvement. Not every negative mood in the room needs to enter their nervous system. This is why calm people seem unaffected in situations where everyone else is drowning. They know how to stand beside the emotion instead of inside it. When someone raises their voice, calm, people don't internalize the anger. When someone is anxious, calm people don't adopt the panic. When someone brings negativity, calm people don't carry it home. This isn't lack of empathy. It's emotional boundaries. They care, but they don't collapse into other people's emotional storms. Their internal message is simple. Your emotion is your emotion. Mine is mine. Because calm people know a psychological truth that most overlook. You cannot stay centered if everything penetrates you. You cannot stay calm if every mood in the environment becomes your responsibility. You cannot stay grounded if you allow others to dictate your emotional state. So they protect their inner space. They listen, but they don't absorb. They care, but they don't carry. They observe, but they don't become consumed. This emotional separation is what makes them appear steady, not because life is peaceful, but because they don't let chaos live inside them. Their self-talk is different. If you could step inside the mind of a calm person during a stressful moment, you'd notice something subtle but powerful. Their inner voice doesn't panic. It guides. Most people have an internal narrator that adds fuel to the fire. This is too much. Everything is going wrong. Why does this always happen to me? These thoughts don't just describe the moment. They intensify it. They turn small challenges into emotional earthquakes. Calm people, on the other hand, have a completely different inner dialogue. Their mind speaks in a steady, measured tone that naturally reduces emotional spikes. It reassures them instead of overwhelming them. It focuses them instead of scattering them. Their self-talk sounds more like, slow down. Let's look at this clearly. Handle one thing at a time. This isn't as big as it feels. This internal voice doesn't lie or sugarcoat reality. It simply refuses to escalate the situation. And over time, this becomes their default mental habit. When something stressful happens, their mind doesn't spiral. It stabilizes. It creates structure. It sets emotional boundaries. It reminds them they're capable of handling whatever is in front of them. This type of inner dialogue is what keeps their emotions from spiraling out of control. It acts like a psychological anchor, holding them steady even when everything around them is turbulent. Here's the deeper truth. Calm people aren't calm because life is calm. They're calm because their inner voice doesn't add chaos to the moment. Their external composure is built on an internal stability most people never develop. Their self-talk is not the voice of fear, but the voice of emotional leadership. They are comfortable with discomfort. One of the most misunderstood traits of calm people is their relationship with discomfort. They're not calm because life feels easy to them. They're calm because they don't panic when life doesn't feel easy. Most people experience discomfort and immediately interpret it as a problem. A tense conversation must mean conflict. A moment of silence must mean something is wrong. A setback must mean failure. An uncertain situation must mean danger. Their brain treats discomfort like an alarm. But calm people understand something most people never learn. Discomfort is not a threat. It's a sensation. They don't run from it. They don't overreact to it. They don't try to numb it with distractions or avoid it with impulsive decisions. Instead, they sit with it. They breathe through it. They observe it without judgment. They allow it to exist without letting it define the moment. This is why calm people don't crumble in emotionally charged situations. Their nervous system doesn't interpret discomfort as an emergency. Their mind doesn't jump to catastrophic conclusions. Their body doesn't go into fight or flight mode at the slightest tension. They can feel uncomfortable and still remain functional. They can feel pressure and still think clearly. They can feel uncertainty and still stay grounded. This tolerance gives them an emotional advantage because while others are trying to escape the discomfort, calm people are learning from it. They recognize that discomfort often carries information. It shows where a boundary was crossed. It reveals where growth is happening. It exposes what still needs healing. It highlights what matters most. Calm people use discomfort as a guide, not a threat. And ironically, the more comfortable they become with discomfort, the less power discomfort has over them. That's why they appear steady in situations where most people lose control. They've built a mind that doesn't collapse just because life isn't comfortable. They think. Long-term, not emotionally. When something stressful happens, most people zoom in. Their attention narrows, their emotions take over. The problem feels massive, immediate, and permanent. This emotional tunnel vision makes everything feel worse than it actually is. Calm people do the opposite. They zoom out. They immediately place the situation in a wider timeline, a bigger context. Instead of reacting to the emotional intensity of the moment, they mentally step back and ask, will this matter in a week? Will this affect my life a year from now? What's the actual long-term impact here? Is this a moment or a pattern? This shift from emotional thinking to long-term thinking instantly reduces panic. Because once you zoom out, the problem shrinks. A rude comment stops feeling like a personal insult. It becomes a forgettable moment. A small mistake stops feeling like a failure. It becomes a learning opportunity. An unexpected setback stops feeling catastrophic. It becomes part of a bigger journey. Calm people don't allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent decisions. They don't react based on how they feel right now. They respond based on what will matter later. This is why they avoid making impulsive choices. This is why they don't get swept into dramatic emotional swings. This is why they stay steady even when everything around them feels unstable. Their mind operates like a stabilizing force. It expands the timeline so the moment loses its power. Where others see an ending, calm people often see a transition. Where others see a failure, calm people see a step forward. Where others collapse into the intensity of now, calm people anchor themselves in the future. This long-term perspective creates emotional distance. And emotional distance creates calmness. Because the truth is, most things that overwhelm us in the moment won't matter as much as we think. Calm people simply remember that in real time. They don't chase control. They preserve energy. One of the quiet secrets behind calm people is how carefully they manage their energy. Most people don't think in terms of energy at all. They think in terms of control. They believe that if they can control everything and everyone around them, they can finally feel calm. So they tighten their grip. They micromanage. They overthink. They anticipate every possible outcome. They rehearse conversations in their head. They try to shape people's reactions, emotions, and behaviors. And this constant attempt to control the uncontrollable drains them emotionally. Calm people learned a long time ago that control is an illusion, and chasing it is a trap. So instead of trying to control everything, they ask a different question. Where is my energy best spent? This single shift changes everything. They stop wasting energy on people who won't change situations, that won't respond to force opinions that don't matter, outcomes they cannot influence, problems that aren't theirs. Calm people focus only on the small circle of things they can control: their tone, their reaction, their attitude, their choices, their boundaries, their effort, their interpretation of events. This gives them an inner stability that doesn't depend on the outside world behaving perfectly, because they're not fighting life. They're navigating it. They don't enter power struggles because they know those battles only drain them. They don't argue to change stubborn minds because they know it won't work. They don't stress over what they can't influence because they know it's wasted energy. They've mastered something most people never realize. Calmness comes from managing your energy, not controlling your environment. And because calm people preserve their emotional resources instead of burning them on impossible tasks, they have more clarity, more patience, and more resilience. Where others are exhausted from trying to force life to cooperate, calm people are still steady, because they conserve the energy everyone else spent. This is what makes them appear strong in situations that drain everyone else. Their calmness is not passivity. It's not avoidance, it's efficiency. They don't fight every battle, they don't hold every argument, they don't involve themselves in every storm. They choose wisely where to invest their emotional energy, and that is why they never run out of it. They create an inner environment. Nothing can dominate. One of the most defining traits of calm people is that their peace comes from within, not from the world cooperating, not from other people behaving perfectly, and not from life going according to plan. Their calmness isn't dependent on external stability, it's built on internal structure. Most people only feel calm when everything around them is quiet. Calm people feel calm because they've built an internal world that stays steady even when the external world is loud. They've learned that if you rely on your surroundings for peace, you'll lose your peace every time your surroundings change. So they invest their energy inward. They know how to self-regulate. They know how to bring themselves back to center. They know when to breathe deeper, slow down, or detach. They know how to create psychological space inside themselves. They know how to pull back from chaos without physically leaving the room. They design their inner world intentionally, like a sanctuary where nothing and no one has unlimited access. Calm people set unspoken rules within themselves. Not every situation deserves my emotional energy. Not every mood in the room gets to influence me. Not every problem gets to enter my inner space. This internal separation is what makes them so centered. The chaos may be real, but they don't let it dominate their internal environment. Think of it this way. Two people can experience the exact same stressful event, but one gets overwhelmed while the other stays balanced. Not because the situation was different, but because their internal worlds were different. Calm people have built an inner environment with emotional walls, emotional filters, emotional structure. Nothing enters without permission. This is why they don't get thrown off by someone's bad attitude, someone's anger, sudden setbacks, high-pressure situations. Emotional intensity from others, they feel it, but they don't become it. They've trained themselves to stay rooted, even when the wind is strong. Because here's the truth. Calm people understand that others don't. Inner peace is not about keeping life quiet. It's about being able to remain quiet inside, even when life is not. They treat their inner world like a home. They decide who enters. They decide what stays. They decide what energy is allowed to exist there. And that deliberate inner control is what makes their calmness look effortless, even though it's actually one of the most disciplined psychological skills a person can develop. They don't let their ego join every fight. Another reason calm people stay composed is because they don't treat every disagreement or challenge as an attack on their identity. Most people argue to win. Calm people argue only when it matters. And even then, they don't let ego dictate their tone. They don't need the last word. They don't need validation. They don't need to prove their intelligence or superiority. Why? Because they understand something most people never learn. Reacting from ego is the fastest way to lose control. When a conversation gets heated, calm people don't escalate. They de-escalate. Not to submit, but to maintain psychological clarity. They separate the issue from their self-worth. They listen without taking things personally. They respond without hostility. This ability makes them seem mature, even wise, but in reality, it simply comes from emotional discipline. They protect their peace more than their pride, and that single decision keeps them calm in situations where others crumble. They choose their battles instead of fighting everything. Calm people don't get dragged into emotional, unnecessary wars. They know most things are not worth the mental energy they demand. When something happens, they silently ask, will this matter tomorrow? Is this worth my peace? Is reacting going to change anything? And if the answer is no, they let it go. They don't chase closure. They don't try to fix every misunderstanding. They don't correct every wrong opinion. They don't address every irritating behavior. This selective engagement makes their life dramatically lighter than those who emotionally invest in everything. Their calmness isn't a personality trait. It's a strategy built on conserving energy for what's actually important. So if you've ever wondered why some people stay calm no matter what life throws at them, it's not because they're emotionless or detached or built differently. It's because they've developed a psychological structure that protects their peace. They pause instead of react. They think instead of panic. They observe instead of absorb. They choose clarity over ego. They choose energy over chaos. And above all, they choose their inner world over every external storm. And here's the truth most people never realize. Calmness is not a personality. It's a skill that anyone can learn, including you. If you found this eye-opening, insightful, or comforting, make sure you subscribe for more videos like this and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Your calmness is your power. Protect it, strengthen it, and never let the world take it from you.